I grew up born in the 1940s, and I grew up during the late 1940s, and I was 6 years old in 1950, and we grew up on a farm where there was enough money that, we ate enough and we had clothes, but we didn't have anything else. And there wasn't really anything particularly special about the house we lived in. It wasn't particularly well decorated, and generally speaking, the relatives that we knew, that there was no real distinction to their lives. They didn't have, really great art. They didn't really have great furnishings in their house. And, these were working class people, and they had gone through the Great Depression in the 1930s, and, they were they didn't really enjoy anything luxurious, and so I didn't really give this much thought. But when I was about 11 years old, my mother and my sister took me along on a shopping trip to Cleveland, which was 60 miles away from our farm, and this was the big city. And Cleveland was a really big deal city in the early 1950s. I think it was certainly in the top 10 in the United States, but it was a major metropolis. And I was always fascinated to go into a big city just because there were so many people there and there was so much activity, and it seemed enormously exciting to me, enormous number of different things to think about. And so in Cleveland, even today, there's this huge building, very tall building, which for many decades was the tallest building west of New York in the United States. That's called the Terminal Tower. And this was above the train station, the main train station. And of course, in the 1950s, it was still the train age. When people went from California to New York, some of them flew, but not many. Most people would take the train. And so it was a very, very busy train station. There was a parking garage for cars in part of the terminal tower, and so we parked underground, and then we came up through the hotel itself, through the lobby. And when we went through the lobby, my life really changed, because this was a luxurious hotel. I mean, wealthy people traveled by train then, and I was just overwhelmed by, the higher quality furnishings, and it was just a very, very wealthy atmosphere. And so we were going to go through the hotel and there were big department stores on the public square in Cleveland. And we got to the door, and I said to my mother, I said, "Do you mind if I just stay here?" I said, "I won't move. I'll just stay in the lobby, but I would just like to sit here and watch what's going on." And so she gave me some money. I could get a sandwich, or I could get tea, or a soft drink or something. And I picked a chair and I sat in it, and for about 3 or 4 hours, I just sat there and watched what was going on in this hotel. And a thought came to my mind. I said, this pretty well describes where I'm going in life. And I don't think my family ever knew this, but as I've gotten older and gotten into the business world, we have a very successful company, and the money is available to have the lifestyle that you want. And that early experience of that hotel has really influenced me all my life. And when we travel, Babs and I stay in top-notch hotels with top-notch service, and go to restaurants with that. And it was kind of funny, because no one else in my family acquired this. And I don't know where it came from, but I had it. It was almost like I had a gene for this. And the moment I got into the circumstances of the hotel, I just responded to it. And ever since then, this was when I was about 11 years old, I had this criteria in my mind, this is a first-class experience. And so as we've packaged ourselves as a company, as more or less we've outfitted ourselves, Babs and I've always used this very, very first-class criteria, and I just enjoy it so much, and I love it so much. and so it's very interesting that it was something I had inside of myself at a very early age, and then I've kind of designed my future to make sure more and more of my life is surrounded by a first-class experience like the one that I experienced in that hotel. Oftentimes, individuals are born with very different unique abilities. They're born with very different instincts, and you may be in the same family, but where you're heading is very, very different. And there are a series of experiences that you have as a child that if you link them together, they actually can point a real direction of what you really like and what you don't really like. And from the moment I sat in that hotel, I knew that this was the life that I really liked, and that I was just going to go out and be successful, so I had the money to surround myself with this kind of life for the rest of my life.